Yeah. 1, 2, 3, warrior!
Every shirt has its own story. I want to explore the stories that represent our history, our culture, and our future.
We don't have to follow that kind of, affiliated, constrained, branding of football, and actually we're here, and we're just gonna do our own thing.
I might be the manager, but I'm not different from any supporter or player, or we've all got the same responsibility. We all got to bring everybody together, but it's not the players, it's not the management, it's everybody.
Hi, I'm Gemma Granger, Cymru Women's National Team Manager.
And then you see the referee put the whistle to his mouth, and that was the best feeling ever.
Every shirt has its own story. I want to explore the stories that represent our history, our culture, and our future.
The idea was basically to create a jersey that we hadn't necessarily seen before, that obviously spoke that zeitgeist of Wales and what they sort of stand for. Spoke about the national identity, so the graphic gives an impression or speaks that sort of dragon scale, it's wearing that your dragon on your shirt.
Yeah.
So it's not just the crest, but obviously you're embodying the dragon.
I remember the game because we scored one of the best goals I've seen at international level. I thought the way they played it was phenomenal.
That's the most important game for me. If you look at the game where we qualified that night.
You don't realise how much you miss something until it's gone. Being back here, you realise how much we've missed days like this.
You know you're that close now. You don't want anything to go wrong or not do anything that's not going to give you the best chance to qualify.
Good evening and welcome to the Red Wall on Tour, brand new show being streamed across the FAW social media channels. Over the next 45 minutes or so, we'll be bringing you plenty of Wales football chat, reflections, of course, on what we've already seen during this World Cup campaign. Looking ahead to that England game, we've got comedy coming up for you as well, plenty of Welsh culture. Tommy, tell us a little bit more about where we are, why we're here.
Well, we are at the fantastic Trefelin Boys and Girls Club. Fantastic audience, as you can hear and see around us as well. We're joined by former Wales international Andy Legg, Nia Davis, the Wales women's under-17s and under-19s coach, and boyhood hero of mine, former Wrexham legend, and Swansea City to a lesser extent, Lee Trundle as well.
You refuse to call him Magic Dapster.
I can't call him that. That's a Swansea thing.
Yeah,
but,
we're going to fall out.
He's still
over
my
that.
hero from Wrexham. We'll leave it at that.
We are going to fall out over that, but we'll leave that till a little bit later on. Now, as Tommy said, we are at Trefelin, so let's find out a little bit more about the fantastic community work this club do.
My name's Steve Green. I'm the proud chairman of Trefelin Boys and Girls Club. We started out in 1984 with under 9s and under 10s teams, I believe, built the junior section up. Then we came into the seniors where we started on the FAW pyramid system, local league into the then South Wales Amateur League, which later became the South Wales Alliance League, which we won. We won the Welsh League Cup. Then we became the last ever champions of what was the Welsh League Division 1, earned our place in the JD Cymru South. The club has changed massively over the years, developing the Ynys Park years since we moved in here in 1996. Stands, clubhouse extension, recently the floodlights were installed. We played our first ever game under floodlights just under a fortnight ago against Ammanford, and we had close on 500 people through the gate. It's a community club, yeah. The local village now, they'll have the old age dinner here, which they did last Christmas since they lost our local workman's club. So yeah, we do mental health talks here, being used for birthday parties, christenings. Yeah, everything is going really well at the club. The future is bright. I've got a tremendous committee behind me who do a tremendous amount of work in this club, unknown to a lot of people. They really do muck in when the projects are here, and they've built this and something that that we can all be proud of.
Well, Tommy, you spoke so well there. I think our jobs are in jeopardy, aren't they?
Absolutely, yeah. I'm a bit worried myself. I don't know about you.
Absolutely. Now then, our two guests this evening. Lee Trundle, we're going to start with you. Slightly unfair. We're going to show a clip of you in action right now. You've had such an illustrious career, still going strong. Firstly, can I just ask, has your ambition, have your outlooks changed at all?
No, I think when I go on the pitch, I still think that, you know, I want to do well. I want to score goals. Obviously, the crowd and everything is not as big as what it used to. But
and that wasn't a penalty either.
No, definitely. He's clipped my feet at the back. It's 100% a penalty. So, you know, obviously, once the ball is the back of the net, I still get that same feeling. You just don't hear the noise. But, you know, it's... Why are you showing that?
Yeah. Yeah, so it hits the back of the net. Not quite there, though, right? You love that whooshing sound. Didn't quite get it there, did you?
No, it didn't. And I was watching that thinking I was going to score. So
we have set you up quite a treat. And do you know what? The contrast as well with the clip we've got for Andy, like, quite unfair because you, bit of a poster boy. Talk us through this. How on earth did this happen?
Well, like. That was a good tackle, wasn't it? I got the ball anyway.
He would have gone down for a penalty there.
Yeah, no, it was 1996. That was the Anglo-Italian Cup final at Wembley against, I think it was Ascoli or Brescia. Brescia it was actually. We lost the first one. But yeah, I had a phone call. I got a massive fee for that.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Free bar tonight.
At least. I had at least about £500 for that one.
Incredible stuff. Right then, let's get on to, of course, Wales's World Cup campaign. We can't sugarcoat it. Of course, it hasn't been fantastic. That last performance against Iran, it was really poor. But I think one of the main things for us as Wales fans, seeing Bale and Ramsey perform the way they have, of course, They have helped us get to where we are, from languishing, from a nation that was languishing to one that is now reaching a World Cup. As Rob Page has said previously, we now hope and expect to make major finals. It's so sad, isn't it, to see that they just haven't been able to produce their best on the World Cup stage?
Yeah, I think it was disappointing, especially against Iran. I mean, the first half performance against the USA was poor, but the second half was really positive. And then the second game against Iran, is it unfair to play Bale and Ramsey in the second game in 4 days? You know, they are aging, they are fitness-wise struggling, they haven't played a lot of football this year. But if he doesn't play them and the same result comes over, he's going to get the same criticism. So he's not going to win or lose whatever he does. So he's in a tricky situation, Rob Page. They'll have to play against England. You know, I think that's a certainty. They'll have to play against England, and it'll be interesting what team he sets out and what formation we play. It's going to be a tough game. You know, they're a really good side on their day. And but as I say, going back to the thing, we can't complain. You know, they got us to the World Cup, and it's disappointing against Iran, but they got us there.
And Lee, I think that point is highlighted as well with Joe Allen, because a lot of times in both games, we were talking about how non-existent our midfield has been in both of those games. Joe Allen comes onto the pitch. I think I even said that I would have taken him playing on crutches in that midfield just because of what we know he's capable of doing. But I think that's highlighted with his performance. He hadn't had the game time coming into it, but he's damned if he does, damned if he doesn't in terms of playing him.
I think if you look at the situation that Wales are in, and you're bringing players who haven't been playing for the club, they've been injured, but now you're putting them into the big tournaments, and it's like it shows like the strength in depth. What other international teams have? You know, you've got England. You look at the squad they've had. You look at Wales. You're trying to nurse players through to try and get them ready for a tournament, and I think that's. You know, obviously that's the catchment area. If you look at the two countries, you know, Wales have a lot less to pick from than in England do, and a lot less countries. But if you look at the players that they've got, these type of players, if they're even half fit, you have to play them because the quality that they've got over others is so much stronger. And I think that's the hard part. And if you look at the tournament in itself, you know, Wales, if you look at the last World Cup and how long it's took them to get to another World Cup now, it's like I think as a country and as a nation, they've done really well. You look at the Euros, you look at the progression in football now and what they're doing. They are getting stronger. And you just find themselves in a situation where the Iran game never went the way it was. Even if you could have got a draw and it brings you into this last game. And I know there's still all to play for, but it is going to be tough. But even me as a Scouser, you know, I'm looking at the Welsh lads and I'm thinking, come on, boys, let's try and push on and let's give us a good performance in this last game.
Just wanted to ask you, Andy, obviously you've been a manager yourself, and did you think it was an interesting decision to drop Dan James, having played the last 30-odd games, I think, for Wales in a row? It seemed like a bit of a strange decision given, you know, his previous loyalty to Dan James, let's say.
Yeah, I think so. But when you look at Kiefer Moore's influence when he came on the pitch for the USA game, I think that's probably triggered him to say, right, we'll go with that. But you know, he's damned if he don't, he's damned if he don't. It's like if he plays Dan James for his pace and try and get him behind and it doesn't pay off, they'll say, why didn't he play Kiefer Moore? And then if he plays Kiefer Moore, why didn't he play Dan James? He's in no-win situation.
Do you see it as a straight battle between them at this moment in time? Or what do you... I mean, you've got Brennan Johnson to come in as well.
You know, I'm a lover of Brennan Johnson. I think he's an exciting young player, and I think it's something we should be looking forward to in the future with him. I think he's a class act. He's hit the scene with Forest last year, and I think he's done really well. And I hope he figures against England.
And just on that, of course, we do have to mention you are from Liverpool, but who are you going to be supporting on Tuesday night?
Do you know what? And I'm not just saying this because now, you know, I know a lot of the Welsh lads where, you know, we come up through Swansea. You look at the amount of players that we've produced who are in the national team now. I don't know any of the English players. I know the Welsh lads personally. And for me, I would rather them do well because I've got a personal connection with them. So even though you're saying English scouts, you know, I honestly would like the Welsh lads to go on and put a performance in and do well.
Yeah, we certainly have that influence, don't we, here in Wales? But going into that England game, what changes do you think need to be made? Because I know there was a lot of emphasis, wasn't there, in that Iran game on our wing backs providing that width. I don't think we did it overly successful. So do you think there is a way we can play with, of course, that width, but also have maybe Brennan, Dan playing in behind Kiefer Moore?
See, I think Wales got into really good areas and turned a lot of crossing opportunities down. And I think if you've got Kiefer Moore in there, you've got to put that ball in the box. You're playing against Iran, who's a side that have just let 6 goals in the last game. So why not pepper that box? And you know what? Even if you've got to be a bit more direct, just do that. It's tournament football where we come into that game where more or less it's a one-off game where you've got to go off and go and try and win that game. And I don't think they've done that enough. I think they turned it down. And if you've got Kiefer Moore in, play to his strengths. I think they tried to play out a lot more than that they should have. I think just be direct. And I think they will do that against England. Because I think if they try and play football against them, I do think England will pick them apart a little bit. I would be a bit more direct, a bit more old school. And I think that's where Wales will get the joy.
But it's quite strange, isn't it? Because in the first half against the USA, when Kiefer Moore wasn't on the pitch, that's when we were playing the most direct football, when we didn't have that outlet up top.
Yeah, I think when you look at the Iran game, though, even when we got in situations, our quality of crossing was poor. We hit the first man so many times. And that's unusual, you know, from Brennan Johnson. Oh, God.
Could have done with one of your throw-ins, couldn't we, really? That's what we could have done without that.
When Kiefer Moore's there, yeah, you need to be more direct, like Lee said, but we didn't have anybody playing off Kiefer Moore. We didn't have any runners off him. We didn't produce crosses for him.
But I think that's where Dan James would come into play more. If you've got Kiefer Moore and you just let Dan James go, because you know you've got Bale and Ramsey in here. Listen, 2 unbelievable players, but energy, pace. They haven't got what Dan James has got. And I think if you're hitting Kiefer Moore with them balls, Dan will cause a lot of problems for teams. And I think that's what, if you look at the first half in the game against the USA, I think USA pressed Wales really well, never give them no time on the ball. Second half, Kiefer Moore did make a big difference because he held the ball up well and give Wales a chance to get further up the field. And I think that's where they had the joy in the second half.
And you look at that England squad, because their game against USA was a bit of a snooze fest, if we're honest. But they've got so much in midfield, and we've already mentioned that's an area where we have kind of lost out so many battles. How do we tackle that going into this final game?
Hopefully the boys will have a decent rest, because like I said earlier on, if we haven't played a lot of football, it's really tough to go and play 2 games in 4 days, especially 3 games in 12 days. So it's really tough on the boys. Just hopefully whatever team he picks, we don't know until tomorrow afternoon. But if he picks the right side and we give a good performance, I think the Welsh public will take that rather than a good result.
I think even you go on about the games as well. I think this is the first time they've played in a World Cup in so many years. There's a lot of pressure on the lads, and listen, they're all human. You go into that situation playing in a World Cup where the nation is dependent on you. You know, that plays a big part in it as well. So I'm hoping with tomorrow, I know there's a little bit of pressure, but there's not a lot of pressure because as a Welsh fan, you're not expecting them to do anything. So I think go out, give your all, and let's hope that they can get a result.
All the pressure's on England tomorrow. Yeah. You know, we should release it and just go for it, and just hopefully it's not a bad defeat.
Putting you both on the spot now, how do you see it going? I mean, do you think Wales have got a chance to get a result against England?
You've got to look at the results in the World Cup at the moment. There's loads of upsets, so why not? But they'll have to perform at their highest, and England got to be poor.
The only thing I'd say, it's like it is more of like a British game where it can be, if you've got a bit more fight and a bit more desire, that can count a lot in these type of games. And I'm hoping that Wales will bring that on board. But I think if you look at the 2 teams in quality-wise, I think you'd look at England having a lot more quality even throughout the full squad. But it's about them 11 players on the pitch. So if Wales can go out and put a performance in, do everyone proud, then that's all we'd ask of them.
Indeed, I think that's enough on our neighbours for now, isn't it? Let's find out a little bit more about how our Red Wall have been doing out in Dubai.
Wales away takes you to places you'd never experience, you never think you'd go to. Been to over 20 countries and played over 30 because some have been tournaments. And it's the camaraderie of going with friends and a football family, which is amazing.
As Mum said, we meet friends all the time, every game. We don't see them any other time of the year, but only when we go away with Wales.
I really thought hard about coming, but I'm 62 and I've waited for Wales to get to World Cup all my life that I follow football, and I couldn't not do it.
Our thoughts were, we've got to go, but where we're going, how we're going, what we're doing, we just didn't know, but we must get there because it may never happen in our lifetime again.
It was impossible to find any accommodation in Qatar. That's why we decided on Dubai.
We knew, living here, that Qatar was full, so we wanted all our friends, basically, to come here. For us to have the Welsh here has been, it feels like all your friends are coming on holiday at once.
No, it does. The original group, Dubai Welsh Supporters Club, we had what? 60 members in it on Facebook? And then I remember after we qualified, and then you started posting things about like we were going to have a welcome party and all this. Then I looked at it the other day and we're just short of 1,000.
And it always works, doesn't it? You know, Wales away, you just see someone with a shirt on and I like, you know, how you doing? It's the Welsh family. We get together and say hello and support. You'd help anybody who was stuck, to be honest, you know.
We thought we'd add a bit of sense to our panel. I think that's fair to say. Nia Davies, welcome. Thank you. You've had already such a successful career. Can you just tell us a little bit about the elite coach apprenticeship scheme that you were a part of and how that has helped you develop your skills?
Yeah, that was probably like 4 years ago now, when I was a coach at Swansea City with the foundation phase with the little ones. So I started there, and it was a 2-year course that we all got together like once every month, like coaches around the UK in different academies, coaching different age groups, like in the boys game. So yeah, that was a fabulous like course to be on. It grew my confidence massively. We got to share experiences, and yeah, from that probably just grew in my confidence and knowledge about the game, and it went from there really.
And of course, then being part of Swansea City setup, how going from there to where you are now, how much do you think things have progressed? Of course, the success of the senior side for the Welsh women's side, how much has that progressed since you first set out?
Yeah, so like when I started with Swansea, it was all with the boys, and now my sort of transition to the girls game is it's developed massively over the course of the last probably 6 years of coaching. So, and yeah, it's an exciting place to be right now. You know, women's football, you've seen the crowds get bigger, the interest in it getting massive. You know, praise from Wales and in England and in other countries as well. So it's, you know, that's really important for the girls that are playing at the moment. It's massive, really.
And we talk about the senior setup and what Gemma Granger is achieving with the women's side. But recently, Cardiff City, of course, had that record attendance against Abergavenny, over 5,000 fans in attendance for that game. It's growing at such an enormous rate, but for even the younger girls coming through, to be able to see that at such an attainable level for them, you know, that's something that they can really go on and achieve and be part of themselves. That must be incredible to help nurture them towards that.
Yeah, and I think, like, you know, Gemma does a fabulous job with her seniors, but also her message carries down all the way through to even the 5-year-olds that want to start playing football now. And that's the difference I'm seeing like now is girls are starting at 5 years old, not at 8 and 9 like they used to. So, you know, it's that's the big part of their development in, you know, their technique, but also, you know, them seeing women in like the Adran leagues and stuff like that in front of 5,000 is massive. And that's just going to grow, which is really exciting. But yeah, there's so many more girls playing in boys teams now and everything like that. So it's just, yeah, it's a really, really good place and hopefully grow even further.
Just wanted to ask you as well, the coaching system that you've come through the FAW with, it's fantastic. There's like this standardization so that when you move through the age levels, you're accustomed to what you're expecting from your coaches as you move up the age grades. It's just fantastic, isn't it? It's something that the FAW have put in place to make that transition from age grade to age grade easier, isn't it?
Yeah, I think, coach education in Wales is known worldwide. It's not just in Europe, but there's so many coaches that come into Wales to do their coach education is really, shows how good it is. But there's so many good Welsh coaches within that program as well, coming through, in grassroots, whether it's academies, whether it's international stages, pro academies. There's so many coaches that you're on courses with and can share experiences. That's the massive thing about it. That sort of networking within coaches, you learn from anyone. I recently did a grassroots conference and learned things from mums that were coaching in grassroots, which is like so nice to see how much they love it and want to develop the games for girls and boys. And then obviously hoping to get them to the adult and going through adults into hopefully veterans football at one stage. Yeah.
Absolutely. I'm a veterans football man myself these days, but yeah, Lee's now still playing proper men's football, unbelievable. But yeah, just in terms of like Gemma Granger going over there to be part of Rob Page's setup and stuff like that, it absolutely speaks volumes, doesn't it? The importance that the FAW place on the women's game and the development of the women's game as well.
Yeah, definitely. We wouldn't have seen that probably a few years ago, and Gemma and Rob, I know, speak a lot about their experiences. They're still both young coaches, and they're experiencing, for Rob to be at a World Cup. Hopefully, in the next campaign, Gemma can be in that World Cup stage as well with a women's team. But yeah, and I know, within our setup, even with the youth coaches, we share and we sort of speak about loads of things, whether it's senior, it's 17s, is it 15s. We share and sort of hope to expand our knowledge and develop our coaching as well. So yeah, it's really nice to see that she's out there getting that exposure and sort of helping Rob in some way as well.
And Trans, I guess even at Swansea City, from when you first joined the club to now, seeing how intertwined the women's and the men's sides are, and just how we can use the men's team to kind of catapult the women's team as well. That's something that I'm sure is your role is quite important to do as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, when I first started, I would go out to events with Nia where she would be putting stuff on. And, as a coach, she was brilliant then. And, even here moving on now, we'd expect big things from her coming in the future. But it's great where the men's team and the women's team are working together. Even though we've got a former players association, now we're even doing where the ex-women players are part of that. So we're part of the football club because, you represent the football club, whether you're a man, whether you're a woman, you've given up your all for that football team. And I think it's important to bring the two together. And as we've said, you look at the games now with the women's, and I do think even the English game, the Lionesses, where they've gone on and done that brings it to a massive stage as well. And that's what we want. You see young girls getting into football, but as Nia said, they're getting in at a younger age now, and that can only be great for when the game moves on in years.
And it's the importance, isn't it, of just making it football. Like, I know you've got a very young daughter yourself, and it's just the fact that people like that can grow up and it's just normalized to see women playing football, whether they're pundits, whether they're presenters, just seeing them on our screens, and that's normal for them.
It is, and I think if you look at them pundits now, they probably never had no women role models. They would have had to look into the men's game to get role models, where now you've got these young girls growing up and seeing someone out there on the pitch that they want to emulate and they want to be like, and that's great for football. And as I say, the standard's getting better as well. If you look at women's football probably 15 years ago to what it is now, it's changed completely, and that's for the better.
Absolutely. And I think we need to remember that the journey is very different in the men's game compared to the women's. Men's football was once at that stage. So we need to remember they're on different paths, of course. But if you were to be kind of critical, or just if you were to be, judgmental of what needs to happen in order to maintain this momentum for the girls' path, in order to really thrive on the success that the women have had, what do you think maybe needs to happen going forward?
I think just carry on with the support that they're having and building on that, I think, because there's massive supports out there from the male game recently, and it's just building on that really, and probably more just openness to, if a girl's playing for a boys team, that's fine, that's normal. So it's really important that, if a girl feels more comfortable playing in a boys team, then just let her carry on with it. But and when we play against, so we've got the academy where the girls play against the boys, and it's actually opening people's eyes, and it's opening like boys' eyes to seeing actually these girls can play. So yeah, Elena was on the program not so long ago, and she's one of those players in the academy, and they're just thriving from that experience. So yeah, just more support and more openness to allow girls to enjoy the game like everyone should.
How beneficial has that been, seeing your under-17s playing against the boys? What sort of things have they been able to take from those experiences?
Yeah, I think it's from an actual football perspective, the tempo of the game's quicker. They have to make decisions quicker. And the massive thing that we saw last year in the first year of doing the program was the girls were always dominating in grassroots, being in possession a lot of the time. Taking them into a boys' league and playing a girls' team against boys' team, they were out of possession quite a bit last season. So that transition then, when we go and play international teams such as France, such as Belgium, that's what they're going to be exposed to, but they weren't used to it. So that was a massive shift in their sort of footballing, terms, but also just that actually we deserve to be here as well from a psychological perspective, and actually believing in themselves to want to achieve and keep improving. And now they can see a actual career in it, which is a massive thing to drive their motivation and their desire.
Most definitely. Right then, shall we have a little chuckle? This time not at Tommy's expense, even though the majority of the time
Usually
it really is. But Stefan Evans, he's from Pembrokeshire. Yeah, he's from Pembrokeshire. He, of course, supported Ellis James on his worldwide tour in 2017. But can he do it on a cold, wet evening here in Trefelin? Let's find out and hand over now. Steph, over to you.
Hello, Trefelin FC. I did rugby then, didn't I? Hold on, let's try that again. Hello, Trefelin FC. How's it going? All right? Oh, brilliant. You're here. Bloody hell. Hey, this is nice, isn't it? World Cup. Didn't think this would happen. Yeah. We all right? We having a good time here tonight for this thing? How's the season going? Season going all right? Is this the first team? Are you the starting 11? Because from the looks of it, you're having a stressful season from the looks of it. Bloody hell. This one over here must be in goal. He's got no hair left. That's ideal. That's ideal. Are you enjoying the World Cup, boys and ladies? Yeah, it's all right today. Stressful, isn't it? Stressful. I've started smoking again. I only have one now and again, meaning I'll have one now and I'll have one again straight after. Like, it's hard to have an opinion looking like this. I know what I look like. I've got like, the science fiction hairline from the 70s. I've got a trainee YTS or a beer belly. I can't have an opinion on people running back and forth through a field, kicking a ball around every week. The last thing I ran for was last orders in the pub. I know exactly what I look like. I look like Mr. Spock from Star Trek if he was sponsored by Greg's. I look like a heroin-flavored Lego man. That's what I look like. I know it. I bloody know it. Like, I go to the gym, right? But I only do 3 sets. I do 3 sets on the vending machine. We heard this thing called CrossFit. I tried that. It doesn't work. I do a thing called CrossFat, where I sit in my house for 6 hours and give myself a hard time for not exercising. Fair enough. Some of you do the same thing as me. That's good. It's nice. I'm from West Wales. Ironically, this was previously booked for Haverfordwest in West Wales, but good stereotype. There's no Wi-Fi in West Wales, is there? That's ideal, isn't it? That's ideal. Plenty of sheep, but no Wi-Fi. There's got to be something there. You should put a router on a sheep. That'd be ideal, wouldn't it? I'm from a little village called Eglwyswrw. You heard it before. Can anybody pronounce that? No, you don't want to, do you? It's ideal. When you go to like football clubs and that kind of stuff, people say to you, like, where are you from? And if you say Swansea, they say, well, back to Swansea then, will you? Somebody says to me, where are you from? Eglwyswrw. They're like going, huh? What? So it's great, like, so many vowels, but not in English. Like, I love it because, like, English tourists drive through my village, and I know that at one point, some posh English woman's going to go, oh, look, Monty, they've put the Wi-Fi code on the sign on the way in. It's not the Wi-Fi code. There's no Wi-Fi code in West Wales. We know that, don't we? So this is nice. Like, like World Cup has been tough. It's been tough. It's been good. It's been bad. It's been ugly, right? I don't like the whole sort of consumerism that comes with it. Every single like can of Coke or something like that is sponsored for the World Cup. Have you seen these things? Grab bags, crisps, Walker's ready salted grab bag. Oh, like I didn't know how to carry a packet of crisps. I said, right, mate, don't worry. I'll kick you home. It's fine. Right, it's nuts. Like, I'm from West Wales. It's a good place, nice place to be raised. Even a better place to run away from. It's ideal, right? Eglwyswrw was a very different place to go from, right? Like, I lived it. What I did, I had a good childhood. Then I looked up, saw the power lines, followed them all the way to Cardiff, right? That's where the electric is apparently. So that's where we're going to go for that. And it's a great place to be. Like, you know, like I go back now and again. I go back on holiday to where I'm from. Give me a cheer if you've been to Pembrokeshire. 3 of you, ideal. Everybody else is on the smash all the time. Have you been to Tenby? Nice, isn't it? Yeah, Saundersfoot, lovely. Eglwyswr was about 30 miles north. About 30 years back in time. I love it. Right? But I went back recently. I went for a spa weekend. Posh, isn't it? Posh. Wasn't relaxing at all. All I did was stack shelves and chase shoplifters all weekend. I'm trying to keep these jokes clean because this is going out on Facebook Live. Like, I swear a lot. My name's Stefan. There's 2 F's in my name. That's not a good start, is it? Not a good start at all. But like, it is good. Like, I spoke to my parents before I came to the gig here tonight, and I like to pretend that they're proud of me. They don't. So I spoke to my mum, and she said my dad's having another jab next week if he forgets to take the bins out again, you know. Like, my parents, very sort of 80s working class parents. Work hard, play hard, right? For anybody thinking anything other, that was drinking, right? Right? Like, my parents used to work like really hard. They used to drink a lot, don't get me wrong, right? But they always made sure that me and my brother always had what we needed. They worked their fingers to the bone to make sure that we had clothes on the table and food in our back. Right? My mum, her favorite pirate was Captain Morgan. That's it, yeah, he lived under the sink. Right? And my dad then, very hard worker. Hard drinker, right, but not an alcoholic. These days, right, you can call him an alcoholic, but back then he was called a character. Right, I remember once me and my brother were sort of like pinching each other, pulling each other's hair, pushing each other and stuff. And my dad said, "Oi, stop that or I'm turning this car around." I said, "Dad, we're in the living room." It's mad. I feel very proud to come and do things like this because I think that Wales is the head office of characters, the head office of nicknames and stuff, right? Because I'm sure that there are nicknames in this room that we can't broadcast. I'm sure there are nicknames in this room that are absolutely legendary, right? Genuinely, right? There's one Romanian guy living in Eglwyswr, where I'm from, population of 87.5 people, right? One Romanian guy. He's got really strong asthma. Right? They've given him a nickname. They've called him Vlad the Inhaler. There's another guy, right? Comes in every summer to work the farms, right? Massive Australian bloke. Any pair of trousers is tight on him, right? So what he does, right? He puts his phone in his pocket, and before he even knows, he's calling on the boys from within his trousers, right? So they've called him Pocket Dial Dundee. It's mad, like. It's mad. And then there's the best one, right? There's a guy in the next town. His name is Spaceman, because that's what's exactly between his ears, man. Right? I remember once me and Spaceman were walking down to the pub, and I said to Spaceman, "Hey, look, a dead bird." And he looked up. I think it's all mental. The world has gone mental, isn't it? It costs less money now to fill your car up on Peroni. Right? I've got, I'm thankful for this gig tonight. I've got vices. Oh, geez. Gas, water, electric. Shove it up my nose. I love it. Right? Love it. Can't get enough of the stuff. I got clothes to dry and money to burn. It's ideal. Right? But like characters we do well, right? But I think there's one thing we're losing track of is traditional Welsh names. Right? You don't see like babies with normal names anymore. They're all silly names, right? I go back to West Wales now and again, and I go and meet my nephews from school. It's a hell of a laugh. It's great, right? So what I do is my brother stays at home. I go up to the car park of the school. They come out to the school. I say to them, "I'm your real dad." They cry. I laugh. Everybody has fun. It's great. And then, but before then, what happens is I speak to the people I was in school with, right? And there's one girl, very posh. Mum had a hairdresser's posh. Right? She had a little girl with her, right? And her name was Verity. And I said, "Oh, Verity." And she went, "Yes, it's Latin for truth." I said, "Well, the truth is that is a stupid name." Right? There was another guy I was in school with, right? I had a little boy. I said, "Oh, right. What's your boy called then?" "Oh, he's called Axel." I said, "Axel? Okay, what happened with this one then? Was he conceived underneath a car?" And he said, "No, it was his brother, Jack." This has been really nice, considering the false start at the start when I came to a football club and I said, hello, RFC, that is a really good indicator of how much money has been spent in Welsh football, isn't it? I think like it'll be really, really good to get a good result tomorrow. And if I was a religious man, I'd pray to God, but I'll pray to Baal. What I'll do, right, is I would love to see a 2-1 win to Wales tomorrow. But before I go, I'm not going to leave on a joke. I'm going to leave on a thanks, right? On the weekend, the Red Wall lost a member in Qatar. A man was passed away in Qatar, and I knew him. He was my last football coach. And I was 14. Obviously, I haven't played any football since then, have I? Right? But his name was Kevin Davis. He was a lovely bloke. He took us out to Brittany to for some reason, to play against like Maccabi Haifa, Le Havre, and all these teams. We got hammered by everyone. Our kits were older than the teachers that took us out, right? Right? But he was a lovely man. And what I'd like to do is to finish this set with a round of applause for Kevin Davis. So please.
Was hilarious, beautiful, poignant, everything in between. Thank you very much, Steph. We look forward to chatting to you a little bit later on. You are, of course, watching the Red Wall on tour. We are now going to have a little bit look at some of the social media comments coming in. I'm sure they found that as superb as we did, Tommy.
Yeah, they absolutely did, although none of them have commented that yet. But we have got, that was absolutely awesome, though. I really enjoyed that. But yeah, Louise Woods got involved. She said, what do you think the chances are of the young boys might get a chance? Mark Harris and Ruben Colwill. I'm not sure. What do we think, guys? Quickly.
So I would like them. I really rate Ruben. I think he's a very good player. Mark as well, who's a Swansea lad. I just think at this moment, as like you said before, when you've got them big hitters in there, I think you've got to start with them and see how it goes.
Yeah. What do you think, guys?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think if Rob Page puts the youngsters in and they get defeated by a big score, he could get slaughtered really. But so.
Yeah, I think experience for them is massive just to be out there for this one, and hopefully they'll get to another one in 4 years' time.
Absolutely, fingers crossed. But Louise Wood as well. Again, Kiefer Moore capable of headering it in the box as well. Yeah, we were saying that before. I mean, he could have done with more service the other day, couldn't he? Elgan Thomas is letting me know that Wrexham have drawn Coventry in the FA Cup. So diolch yn fawr, Elgan, brilliant. But it's just good luck messages, and just to remind you, get involved on the socials.
Yeah, absolutely. Now then, we are going to have a look at one of the trailers, A Nation United, one of the tiny Welsh media productions that has been put together for the Red Wall. It is superb. We've already had a little look at it. We can take a little look at it now. Let's have a go. Yeah, A Nation United, that is available to watch now on Red Wall Plus. So make sure, don't do it now because, of course, you want to continue watching us, of course. But as soon as we're finished, you'll want to go and check that out. Steph has joined us here. Thank you so much for that set. It was absolutely superb. First of all, how intensely have you been watching this World Cup?
I mean, every second has been intense. Just, like it's just been like 2 hours of hell, hasn't it? But nice hell, like a nice warm hell. Not too hot, not too many flames. That's good. But, at the worst, I do apologize to everybody here for calling this place a rugby club. I think I was a year early for the wrong World Cup.
And do you know what? It has been hell. I think you were perhaps wrong in calling it a little bit nice. It has been too warm at times. It has been a warm hell at times in this World Cup. But the performance levels, of course, we've been discussing it. They do need to improve quite significantly, don't they, going into that game against England?
to be honest. How can I say that? Like, look, the expertise you've got in this panel here. If you want expertise of how to hold down a minimum wage job for 25 years, I'm your man, right? But if I'm giving advice to some of the elite sportsmen of the planet, I'm not sure what to say. All I will say is, please go out there and score more goals in England tomorrow, and that's it.
Look, I had dreams of being the female Cafu, and look how I've ended up, right? Okay, I'm in a similar boat to you, so I can empathise with you here. I thought I was going to be the female Cafu. I've not ended up that way. I found alcohol. It's not been a strong path for me either. But that game tomorrow, of course, if this is to be the end of the journey for Wales at this World Cup, there are so many positives to reflect on, aren't there? You know, where we have been, we mentioned it earlier, only a few years ago, we were languishing. There were players who had no pride in wearing that dragon on their chest, to where we are now, the likes of Bale, Ramsey, Allen, Roden going forward, he's going to be one of the driving forces for us. We have so many positives to take.
Definitely. So all I will say is, please give us more money so we can invest it. You know what I mean? Because they're like, how many more millions of people? I saw that chart on social media of there's 352 million people in the USA, and they're still rubbish at football. So give us some of that money, and so we can invest it in our future generations. Because I think what's important really is when you see the armchair sort of pundits and that kind of stuff on social media going, "Oh, Bale and Ramsey didn't turn up today." They turned up. I saw them on the telly, but unfortunately they would be marked by 11 people, so it's easy for people to say, right, they should be doing that, they should be doing this. I've got all I've got is faith, and that's all I can have, and all I can is hope that everything does get better, and obviously with the support that now, there's no reason why it shouldn't.
And I want to touch on something that is quite serious. I want to get all your opinions on this, because Ben Davies, of course, conducted an interview yesterday, and I remember watching it on BBC News, turning to my sister and thinking, this is absolutely phenomenal. We're on BBC and he is speaking in Welsh, and I felt nothing but pride. I feel ashamed that I can't speak Welsh, but seeing him speak our national language on BBC, I felt nothing but pride. But seeing some of the negativity that has surrounded this, it is absurd, isn't it? I mean, it's absolutely ludicrous to think that someone speaking in their mother tongue, when they're asked a question in Welsh, they respond in Welsh, because they are, believe it or not, they are Welsh. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Well, going back to your point of you wanted to be Cafu, have you seen that advert where he says "Yaki da, boys" and that kind of stuff? I think that, if you can speak Welsh better than Cafu, you're doing all right. But personally, I think that having that sort of identity in that language is great. I think we shouldn't be put down by it at all. And really, the main purpose of Welsh is to be able to talk behind someone's back right in front of their face. So let's teach them all the language, and then the other teams won't know what the hell they're on about.
I mean, talking about English people walking into a pub and everyone changing language, what will the scenes be like in Eglwyswrw tomorrow in the local pub? Is there a local pub for a start? Steph, I need to ask you that. Is there a local pub in Eglwyswrw?
Okay, there used to be 2 pubs and a shop. There aren't 2 pubs and a shop anymore, right? I'll tell you how bad this got where I'm from, right? This is hilarious, right? For me, definitely. So when it gets dark, right? Yeah. Street lamps come on, don't they? Right? 11 o'clock in Eglwyswrw, street lamps go off. There's nobody walking the streets in this tiny village, so they're saving money by going, there's nobody about in the street, we'll turn the lights off. So if you're walking anywhere, it's in pitch darkness. It might as well just be a lane in the middle of nowhere. So in Eglwyswrw, I don't think things will be going mental. If anything, they might get an extra Tesco shop on Sunday.
Fantastic. I mean, they're the sort of scenes we want to see, are they? Brings a tear to your eye, that sort of stuff.
Absolutely. But, it just confirms as well what Gareth Bale was saying about this isn't just about the football, is it? It's about people understanding our culture. We have all been on holiday and been asked, where are you from? Wales. Where's that? Gareth Bale country. Oh, right, okay, we know it now. But this is something that is going to put us on the map, and people are going to understand our culture. They're going to understand more about our language, the significance of it. Yma o hyd, that is what it epitomizes, isn't it? And I think it's so important for more than just the football.
Yeah, I think David Hughes has put that on the scene now, isn't he? And I think we're renowned worldwide now. I think reading on social media that they're friendly with the Argentinian fans, and they've made friends with the Saudis, and it just shows that we are a good country, with a really good country, and the fans, the Red Wall, no one better. No one better than the Red Wall.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think after this World Cup, when someone asks us where we're from, we'll be just saying Nico Williams, because he has been one of the real standouts of this World Cup. But Steph, your next gig, tell us more about it, because we certainly want to be there, don't we? I want to be there.
Well, it's lucky that Wales is such a small country, because if you go at any point to any gig in Wales, there's a chance that I will be there. Right? It's such a small country. I love it. I'm hoovering up the money. Tonight I'm doing it. Right? It's brilliant. Loving it. Right? I'm going to be in plus points in the electric meter next week, definitely. But like, also, just have a look at the old social media. Instagram is Steffan Evans Lives, and really, I'm probably the second most famous Steffan Evans in the country, apart from that ginger unit that plays rugby, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, you'll see me either in the street, in a theatre, or in a pub. It's not up to you; it's up to me.
That is absolutely beautiful. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the things you want a man to say to you, they are them. But we're going to get back to Wales now. In terms, we're going to come back to Ollie Cooper, okay, because he is someone who drew so much attention coming up to this World Cup. Should he be involved? Should he not be involved? For you, you watch him week in, week out. How important a figure could he be going forward for this Welsh national side?
I think even on this World Cup now, I think if you're picking players on form, I think Ollie should have been in the squad. I know if you look at it, and I think it's been picked on a little bit of what people have done in the past, and they've brought some players who have done really well for Wales. But if you want to move on as a nation and as a football team, you've got to pick players that are in form. And even though Ollie has been brought out, I think it was more of a second thought, because a lot of fuss got kicked up about it. But I think as a player, what he's done on form, he should have been there and in that squad. But as you say, going on in the future, I think he will be a very bright talent. You know, me watching him week in, week out, you know, I see what he brings to the football club. And he's got that energy, he's got that desire. He's someone who wants to go and take players on. And I think going forward for Wales, he'll be a massive player.
And his character then, as someone who has been taken out in the ways that you've just mentioned, how will he respond to that? What sort of character is he in that way? Will he just think, this is a phenomenal chance for me to learn?
Yeah, 100%. He's a very down-to-earth kid. You know, he's one of them who will go there, he will learn, he will take everything on board. And I think the thing is, the next friendly that Wales have, he will be in the squad. So I think if you're going to be like that, I think he should have been in this squad now. But, you know, as I say, it's all about him experiences and learning things. And going out, it will still be brilliant for him. But I think years to come, I think he will want to be one of Wales's main players, as Joe Allen has been.
Most definitely. Next up, we've got a bit of a treat for you, actually, because we are going to be taking an exclusive look at one of the new documentaries we've got coming to our channel early next year. It is Magic Dap. So sit back, have a look at what Brian Flynn has had to say about you.
I remember we were training once. Training finished, he went to some shooting practice. And I said, yeah, it's not a problem. 15 minutes late, no longer, you know, no longer that. He said, listen to this. What's that, Lee? So we take a shot. Listen to the whoosh of the net. When it hits the net, it makes a sound called whoosh. I love it, he said. That's what I like to hear, a whoosh. And sometimes, if a goalkeeper got the hand to it, he said, nah, it's not a real goal because I've not had a whoosh on the net. That's why he's playing now, just to hear the whoosh on the net, because that's what he thrived on.
When that ball hits the net and you hear 20,000 people roar at the same time, that's a buzz that you'll never be able to get back. I love scoring goals, I love going out and entertaining, and playing football is the way I do that.
I mean, how good was that? That was absolutely unbelievable. Lee, I was lucky enough to watch you play for Rill in your earlier days, and then obviously Wrexham, where you're an absolute legend, still are now. We won't talk about when you went to Swansea and all that. We'll forget about that. I've forgiven you now.
I was there for the Meath days as well.
But no, I mean, but you've got a reputation as well as you know, you were a guy who could pull off unbelievable skill and stuff like that. You were on Soccer AM every single week. You know, great days looking back at that, and you know, you can just tell your love for the game, the fact that you're still playing now as well.
Yeah, I think, you know, that's, if I'm being honest, over my life, that's where I enjoy myself the most, out on that pitch. You know, there's nothing better. You know, if you look at a build up to a game, where you're waiting for that game, then you get in the dressing room with the lads, and even when you come in a year afterwards in the bar when you've had a good win and everyone's together, and football is a thing that brings everyone together. And for me, it's like I've played that many years, you know, and I love that buzz. And I think the only time I will stop it is when my body tells me to stop. And I think you'll get to that age where you'll realise that you can't do it anymore, because I wouldn't want to be one of them players that's just out there for what I've done in the past. You know, I'd want to still produce and want to still bring something to my team. And once that stops, that's when I'll stop. But I think I've got a few years left in me yet.
And just 2 in 1 for you now. Number one, how does that clip make you feel? But also, this is one for the audience here as well. I believe you had a bad result against Trefelin, didn't you?
Yeah, no, I did. I did. Yeah, we got beat 4-2. But listen, Trefelin is my club as well. Do you know what I mean? I played here. I played for the first team. I played for the second team. I played for the veterans. So it's a place where I do call home. And you know, the club, the rise that it's been on, and we've seen Steve earlier on, you know, the input and the impact he's had on the club has been massive. And it's a club that is going places. And as I say, we got beat that game. I scored 2, but I don't want to mention that. But yeah, it was a bad night for us, but that happens in football. You win some, you lose some.
But what about that clip? I mean, Flinny spoke very well about it. Is that something you remember just in training, just listening for that ripple?
Yeah, I remember that. You know, obviously Flinny was the man who gave me my chance in professional football. You know, I was at Rill. He bought me for Wrexham, and if it wasn't for Brian Flynn, I never would have come to Swansea, because, you know, we'd just been promoted at Wrexham back into League One. So I dropped down into League Two, but it was all because of Brian Flynn and Kevin Reeves, why I come here. And, you know, if you look at it, it was probably the best move of my career, because it catapulted me on again. But that is something that I would say to Philly. I just love that noise when it hits the net. And even we talk about professional football, you know, you've got them big crowds where you do hear it a lot more. When you're only playing in front of 300, you can hear the whoosh a little bit more now. So I still enjoy it.
I've got to tell you, I remember the game which Flinny realised that he had to sign you. You scored a hat-trick against Wrexham, didn't you, in a friendly for Rill?
Yeah, well, I didn't know at the time, but Flinny had asked, could he take me on trial so I could have a couple of days training with him. And Rill said, oh, if you give us a friendly game on a Tuesday night, after that, you can take him. So we played in the friendly. And for me, that was a chance for me to play against a professional team and to try and show what I could do. So, you know, luckily on the night, I scored a hat-trick. And then I went in training for 2 days and then played for the Wrexham reserves against Blackpool, scored 2 on the Monday, and then they signed me after that.
Fantastic.
Just a word on your experience, because everyone at this club has mentioned today already. They've said, yeah, Lee Trundle was here at the weekend, and of course, Trefelin got the victory. But how great you were coming into the club afterwards, remembering everyone, and just how important is that to, obviously, Swansea City in the Championship at the moment, but making sure that footballers still keep hold of that aspect where they're still respectful going into clubs afterwards, and never lose sight of those roots where you're still that respectful person, because we all see them with their Louis Vuitton bags after a game, but maintaining that grounded level.
But I don't think that's about football. I think that's about you as a person. You know, for me, I would still come up and we'd play for the veterans and we'd stay behind, we'd have a drink, we'd watch the football. And for me, it's like, I know I've played professional football and done that in my career, but I started off in playing on a field for my local team. Then I went into non-league in England. I went into the Welsh League. So for me, it's just a full circle of going back to where I was. And as you say, about going in and spending time with people, I don't think that's got nothing to do with a football, about your job. I think that's you as a person and just wanting to be around people and have a good time.
And Andy, is that something you'd agree with? Is that something that you find incredibly important?
Yeah, absolutely. I've played with Lee, against Lee. He's a nightmare to play against. I used to look forward to playing against him, but I used to give him some stick. But we had a few battles. But to play with him as well, you appreciate how good he was. You know, and there are players still in the Welsh League that can go and make professional football players. Lee was given a chance, I was given a chance, but there are players out there that can raise. But he's right. He's grounded. He knows what he likes. He likes a pint after the game with the boys, and he chills out. And he said, Trefelin Club epitomises that.
And I wouldn't want to say how those battles went, but I have noticed that Truns has been buying all the drinks tonight. So that's probably a reflection on how that battle worked out, isn't it?
Yeah. I wasn't sure about the Jaeger bombs, like, but apart from that, yeah, we're all right.
Now, we do have an important question. Of course, that documentary is called Magic Taps. We're going to ask each of you now, if you were to have a documentary made by us, keep them clean, what would your documentary be called?
Mine's obviously one, innit? The long throw.
Yeah.
That's all I'm renowned for, so, but yeah, I'll take that.
Yeah. Nia?
I don't know. I'm obsessed with Wales, so I'd say like something like Balchder, which is like proud of being Welsh, I guess, something like that.
Right, I'm looking forward to this one. I'm really excited for this one.
Keeping it clean, innit? I think mine would be Everest. Nah, you're all right.
Tommy, go on.
Yeah, Christ, that just couse, isn't it?
Okay.
Just couse. Yeah. Christ, that was a bit of a lead balloon, wasn't it? There you go.
Expected better. Maybe that's what yours could be called.
Do you know what? You can't be
better.
asking me straight after this guy, can you? Do you know what I mean? It's always going to go down badly.
Yeah, exactly. Right then. Is that the end for us, or are you going to ask me what mine is?
Go on.
My nickname in primary school.
It's not Cafu, is it?
I wish it was. My nickname in primary school was trumpet trousers. I'm going to leave it there. You can work that one out for yourselves. Going to leave it there.
Leave it there, or should we have an explanation?
No, I think we should leave it there. That tells you everything you need to know. So we're going to thank now our wonderful guests this evening. Also, Trefelin for hosting us, because they have been phenomenal this evening, haven't they, in hosting us?
Absolutely awesome. And yeah, fantastic audience as well. Well-oiled, everyone here. But yeah, it's been absolutely brilliant, hasn't it?
It has indeed. So then, Sage Todds are going to play us out. We've got music from them now. That's a wrap, everyone. Let's listen to the music.
Diolch yn fawr.
Danny on the way to the top of the game. Watch Kenny, I'm Dimo Grama. Maar bladen in hem vaag, maar lijken push op tonight. Put the ora. Danny Danny on the way to the top of the game. Watch Kenny, I'm Dimo Grama. Maar bladen in hem vaag, maar lijken push op tonight. Put the ora. Nee, Danny Danny Yo, listen. Fen weer ifanc, sef y fyny rawn bels dim gareth. Dwi'n safio'r gem Cymraeg, dan ni wod dwi'n angan maneg. Mae hwn yn blwyddyn ein fflag, seithi peli drwy y Ffraneg. Montan sy'n dod o'n cega, Castelli ma am ddiffynna ni fel carreg. Tarian rhe caled, da ni'n dod ar air yn ôl I pryd dinas enwa gell anrheg. Peint o'r dre yn coch ar planed, amser creu hanes. Da ni'n dysgu pwy da ni a thrawes, neu tîm nhw'n llanes. You know we're doing damage, land of the giants and land of the brave. Yeah, blood's been spilled for the game. O'r gogled e dwy rhain go llewyn, trust we're one and the same. Them 19 used to show us back then, some can never be tamed. Today's our day, so my people stand and play. Danny on the way to the top of the game. Watch Kenny, I'm Dimo Grama. Maar bladen in hem vaag, maar lijken push op tonight. Put the ora. Danny Danny on the way to the top of the game. Watch Kenny, I'm Dimo Grama. Maar bladen in hem vaag, maar lijken push op tonight. Put the ora. Nee, Danny Danny
My blood, my jeans, man, I'm a rohid. I said don't watch now, I'm a knee hit. Broski running a wing like Bill, got more than love for my team. With him and Sheridan kick your pill, but I'm gonna bowl this season. I don't want scores that's even. 3-0 or nothing, guess that we're overachieving. Blood, sweat and the tears, I'm putting in work when nobody sees it. Cutting in, I'm clearing that cross in the quarter seasons. Or either to the Brecon Beacons, my boys, I'm a eto, I'm dipping in feed. See the navy and tip of my cleave. I strike it straight teeth. Could I take fair play that's peak? We got to keep for more. Team go right, no evil or. Show team support, it's been me v me, but it's coming like a FIFA score. Putting the work, then we reap rewards. Got reasons for and against, so don't even talk, I just show and prove. Swans do giving me a golden boot. My 5-star skill move overused. Heads held high with a win and lose. Rise for our efforts, so those goals get stopped. NSC for my breakfast, cleanest energy. Rolling defenders forwards, that's to our enemies. See that blue, Bellamy, swerve that bird. Black and white, that's G, we surf and turf. Mix my beef with seafood till it hurts.
Danny on the way to the top of the game. Much kenny, I'm Dimo Grumma. Maar glad in hem vaag, om maar rijgen push op tonight. Put the ora. Danny Danny on the way to the top of the game. Much kenny, I'm Dimo Grumma. Maar glad in hem vaag, om maar rijgen push op tonight. Put the ora. Nee, Danny 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 on the way to the top of the game. Much kenny, I'm Dimo Grumma. Maar glad in hem vaag, om maar rijgen push op tonight. Put the ora. Danny Danny
One, two, three, warrior!
Every shirt has its own story. I want to explore the stories that represent our history, our culture, and our future.
We don't have to follow that kind of, affiliated, constrained, branding of football, and actually we're here and we're just gonna do our own thing.
I might be the manager, but I'm not different from any supporter or player, or we've all got the same responsibility. We all got to bring everybody together, but it's not the players, it's not the management, it's everybody.
Hi, I'm Gemma Granger, Cymru Women's National Team Manager.
And then you see the referee put the whistle to his mouth, and that was the best feeling ever. I remember the game because we scored one of the best goals I've seen at international level. I thought the way they played it was phenomenal.
That's the most important game for me. If you look at the game where we qualified that night.
You don't realise how much you miss something until it's gone. Being back here, you realise how much we've missed days like this.
You know you're that close now. You don't want anything to go wrong or not do anything that's not going to give you the best chance to qualify.
Cardiff City Ladies are historically significant because they're the longest serving club, having been formed in 1975.
Some very good players. Some of them I was playing for Wales with at the time, so I was encouraged to come here. I was playing at a high level in my previous club. I'm born in Cardiff as well, so it was coming home really.
The international link for Cardiff City Ladies is incredible. It is a plethora of players that they have produced over the years.
I couldn't wait to come home to tell my dad about my cap, because they didn't know that I was going to play at the time, and my brother was actually on Bristol City's books, so he was very pleased that his little sister had won a cap.
Michelle and Karen are still involved in this club, and it's absolutely fantastic. The volunteers, the opportunity they've given us in terms of international level, the exposure to other players. I've met my best friend from this club and still are. The legacy this club holds is amazing.